Demonstrations over the death of George Floyd spread across 6 continents over the weekend. Chants of Black Lives Matter echoed from thousands of protesters in cities around the world. They were voicing anger not only at racism in the U.S., but also in their own countries.
The incident is the latest in a series of racially charged confrontations in recent weeks, including the death of Ahmaud Arbery, the police shooting of Breonna Taylor, and a 911 call about a black bird watcher in Central Park.
So the first reaction I had to George Floyd's death was obviously frustration. Once again, an innocent black man's life was taken away by those that were meant to protect us. And so there was a lot of frustration there, but also I felt hurt because once again, despite all these barbaric acts against black people, the voices of black people weren't being heard, and I felt a connection to that because I've been in a position where I was not being heard, my cries were not being heard, and they were just ignored. And so this definitely hurt me physically, mentally, emotionally.
Well, at first I didn't. I was very numb to hearing stories about black people being killed in the streets senselessly, and that there was nothing being done to prevent it, nor was there anything done after, no justice. And that really takes an emotional toll on a person. So my first initial response was, I can't do this again. Emotionally, I just can't. Mentally, I can't. And so I just would scroll on my timeline past it for a while. And of course, that same sorrow hit me just as deeply. And then the sorrow turned into rage. And so my first response was, well, I don't want to post on social media. I don't want to post on social media because all someone else is going to do is see that, scroll past it, or they're going to take it, repost it, and put some deep caption with it, like that's going to make a difference. But it's not enough. And so protesting, supporting, sending funds, that became my way of kind of having a release for these emotions. And between the gaslighting and the distant, the unawareness, the refusal, from people to just really listen, but also to educate themselves, was overwhelming as well. So at first I just pulled away.
So in Louisiana, initially I believed I was safe because everybody is so, I don't know the word I could use. Everybody believes in Southern hospitality, at least to a certain extent. But with the Trump campaign and the Trump re-election campaign, I started to see that that wasn't the case, that racism was more covert here than it is elsewhere. I mean that to say you will have your white colleagues who are friends with you, but they will never invite you to their home. You cannot date their friends or their family members, or it's a big deal. And then you have those other friends who are super cool with you. They'll hang out with you. You can go to their home and things, but they're posting about making America great again. So I think that here in Louisiana, it's just as bad as it is in other states in America. And I think it really opened my eyes to that fact that some people still don't realize that race is an issue, or racism is an issue here in America.
Unfortunately, I believe that black people are treated with a lot of pent-up aggression, undertones of racism, undertones of prejudice within my community. I feel that some people are bold about it and some people are more quiet about it, but it is definitely there.
So when I watched the murder of George Floyd in broad daylight, I think that's when it really hit me that Black Lives Matter is not just a movement, but it's a revolution. That this organization is taking these terrible, gruesome situations and using it as a basis, as a foundation for racial reconciliation and for racial justice in this country. So of course, I want to be a part of that. I want to follow everything that they're doing. However, I didn't know that they've been doing this for a long time. And for a while, I felt a little bit ashamed about that because I'm Black. I should be keeping up to date with things like this. And I feel like Black Lives Matter, like the organization, makes it easy for you to stay up to date. It makes it easy for you to play a part in bringing that racial justice wherever you are in America.
What the freak was that? Honestly, I'm still processing it, but it really pisses me off because had that been Black people, we would have been dead. Not only that, but that was definitely an act of terrorism, which they will continuously refuse to call an act of terrorism, but that is exactly what it was. And it's just funny because the hypocrisy of it all. These are people that continuously love to call BLM a hate group, a terrorist organization, when they were literally domestic terrorists incited by the president.
The most frustrating thing about the whole thing is that when white people protest, it was based off a lie. Trump did not win. There was no evidence that he won. But whenever Black people protest, we are protesting about somebody who lost their life in a pretty messed up way by a police officer. No, I do not feel safe. And that mainly has to do with the fact, first off, I'm a woman, so due to that, I'm already subject to, being sexualized. But to add Black into the notion, not only are you dealing with sexism, but you're also dealing with racism. And so you basically just combine those things together, and then boom, Black woman. So no, I don't feel safe because I feel like when it comes to a Black woman, there comes this type of like it becomes a fetish almost. So no, I don't feel safe as a Black woman.
I do not feel safe as a Black woman within this country. Not only am I a woman, but I'm a Black woman. I'm the minority of minorities. So that means I'm constantly on guard. Whether it be walking to my car in the daytime, I am just constantly wary of my surroundings. And also with law enforcement in place, I don't feel safer either, just because of what I've experienced personally and what I've seen other people experience.
Okay, so I have gone to predominantly white institutions for my whole life. And I've always had white friends growing up. And so it never was an issue. Race relations was never an issue until I got to college. And I actually had Black friends who understood what it was like to be a Black woman. And it was then that I realized that it's important for people who call themselves my friends to see me as a Black woman. It's important for us to have racial reconciliation because of the way that our country was built. And so in my personal experience, I've had white friends who have invalidated my feelings, who have made it a biblical issue or a spiritual issue where Satan's trying to divide the masses using race and kind of weeding around the question by using God. And to me, that's unacceptable. It's a cop-out and it's kind of disappointing. And, we don't really talk to this day. However, I do have some really great white friends who validate my feelings, who don't try and understand, but who listen. and who pray with me when I'm feeling sad or scared or depressed, who let me know that what's going on in this country is wrong. However, you know, they're there for me. So, yeah.
Absolutely, we all do, period. I don't see how you can be a minority living in America and not get counseling. Our lived experience here is filled with oppression, consistent hatred, and vitriol. So every minority should go to counseling. We deserve to live happy lives. And I'm not saying that therapy will fix everything, but I'm definitely saying it would help our experience. I also think that it's important to have people around you who understand your experience, who share your lived experience, who can empathize with you, and for people who are not Black, sympathize with you on these issues. It's very helpful. I also think that it's helpful to have people around you who educate themselves instead of you constantly having to educate them. There's plenty of resources out there that they can use to learn more. Also, I think with counseling, it's easy to feel anxious and like you have a target on your back at all times. So being in counseling helps to learn the proper coping strategies to help you be able to move forward and to live a more full life.
Yeah, that's a hard question. Again, it's like, with like everything that's happened, it's so easy to get drawn into like the whole like all these negative emotions, and to like just keep it there and to stay in those things, but it's not healthy, and especially since as a Black woman, there's a stereotype for that called angry Black woman. So we have to kind of like just go back and like really just take the time to like, you know, like think and process. Because it's really easy to stay in a mindset as a way of like protecting yourself, because when it comes to white people, sometimes it can be difficult to let them in, because it's like you just assume that like all white people are racist when that isn't the case. However, at the same time, you can't let everyone into, you know, your bubble. You just have to have wisdom about who you decide to let in. And so for your white friends that want to be educated, of course you educate them, and the other ones, you know, you just kind of distance yourself away from them, because honestly, at that point, if they are not willing to educate themselves, it basically says that they don't care about you.
Being a white ally entails a couple of different things. It's being willing to be wrong, it's doing your own research, and it's also being comfortable with trying and failing and not getting it right the first couple of times. I think that the most important part of being a white ally also is being empathetic. Think about if you were in my shoes and you had to deal with microaggressions and seeing people that look like you being murdered in broad daylight. How would you feel? How would you feel hearing the stories from your grandparents and great-grandparents about the prejudice and about the injustices that they had to endure for you to get where you are today? It's really heavy stuff. And so for you to understand, try and understand and be a part of your Black friend's journey means a lot.
A wave of relief sliced through the anxiety that had been tightened for almost a year.
They see us. They see us. They see you. They see us. They see us. They see us. They do. We matter. We matter. We matter. We matter.